Welcome to Aftermath's Gold Challenge Mode Guide. I'm Marza, and this is the Siege of Niuzao Temple. The Siege of Niuzao Temple was one of the later ones that we did. We came pretty close to the time limit. There are other times that are better, so I'm sure that there might be some tactic that works better, but this is what worked for us. I wouldn't say we found it particularly challenging, but we also didn't beat the timer by that much, so make sure that your DPS is high. One of the ways that we keep our DPS high is these resin flake groups. We could not find a way to pull more than one at a time. When they explode, you get a debuff right there that increases your damage dealt and also increases the damage you take from the resin flake explosions. Ideally, you want a lot of stacks of it, but as you can see, even with just the 6 stacks we have, we took a lot of damage, and some of the pulls have 8. So instead what we opted to do is pull a group of regular mobs, pull the resin trash, get the debuff, and then pull the next group of regular mobs and destroy them before the debuff wore off, and try to whittle down the next group of resin before our debuff went away, but to let it reset before we actually killed them. So right here we're going to get an 8 stack of resin. I believe we're using either a tree form or a tranquility to survive it. I could not tell you off the top of my head, but we definitely use something because it hurts quite a bit to kill all of these. As soon as we have our... oh, I'm sorry, that's a 10 stack. As soon as we have our 10 stacks, we pull the boss. You can ignore the ads when they come out, because he will basically melt before your eyes with the debuff. Notice his health is dropping about 3 to 5% per second. We also used a Bloodlust here. We experimented with using invisibility potions on this section, but the run is simply too long to be worthwhile. You can only skip about 2 packs in the duration. So instead we just continue using the resin piles to build up a large DPS buff and powering through the trash. The Amber Weavers are the targets you want to focus down in these groups. The Resin Weaving is a single target stun on the tank, and when they cast Amber Shell, it will reduce the damage everything takes. With these buffs, you should be able to take them out extremely quickly. As in any challenge mode, stuns are your friend. Our goal with this pack was to try and take it with us into the boss. We didn't keep it quite as long as we could have, but they're also sort of a pain to cut around while we have these other ads coming up. I'm fairly certain that if you really needed to get extra time in this zone, you could kill these one at a time and sort of extend your resin flake buff for a long period of time, or possibly even save them for the actual boss. We chose to use them on the flying assaulter guy that hangs off the ledge, just because we felt we needed to kill him anyway, and it was too much of an issue kiting these around for so long. If you truly needed to min-max, I suspect that you would hang on to them longer and kill them one at a time, though. So there's nothing really different about this tower defense style boss on challenge mode versus heroic. Just kind of throw the sap down, snare the guys, kill them. And this is about where we decided we wanted to kill the flakes. I think we waited for the next time for him to come down. But it was just too much of a hassle trying to separate them from these other mobs. Oh, one thing you should note. The gong to the bottom right of the screen and the emotes that accompany it, you can click the gong to advance the waves faster in challenge mode. That's the difference, I forgot about it. You need to be clicking it the moment you can, every time. This gauntlet is extremely easy. I suspect most people will have no trouble with it. So obviously you want to get it done in, say, 3 to 4 minutes rather than the 6 or 7 minutes it would typically take. That's a role we had assigned to our healer, because everybody else was busy DPSing everything, and there's not much else for the healer to do. You can see I'm trying to tank this warrior in the sap. I also try to do this with the boss, and it doesn't work as well as potentially could. But the goal is I can just tank him down there, and everybody can rain sap down directly on him, but not on me. If you get sap on the tank will also take extra damage. You can see that this guy takes quite a long time to kill, and that's why, if possible, I would keep the amber flakes until this point. You can mount up here and run over to the door. You are kind of stuck waiting for the NPCs for a minute though. I also would recommend not hugging the door. You'll see that we do, and the bombs knock you back a little bit. It's probably better to stand a few feet away. This is a very exciting challenge mode, as you can see. So right here, you want to make sure not to aggro either of those packs, not the patrol or the static. You can either go this way, or depending on where they are in their path, you could go around that other tree. You want to skip all of this trash. This is the biggest time-saving tip that we found for this instance. Pull this boss up to where he is now, that clearing. You'll want to avoid the blade rush that he does. He'll throw a sword on the ground, and it makes a little dull gray circle where it lands, and he runs in a line towards it and hits everybody on the way. So right here, when he goes to do the shield, these groups don't naturally aggro at this point, but you want to pull all of them anyway because you need them for your enemy killed count. And what we do is pop as many cooldowns as possible and tank them all directly on the boss, and have everybody throw bombs on the entire group. And they should die in about 2 or 3 bombs. Really, the key to doing this boss efficiently is throwing bombs on him anyway, constantly, to get his stack high. It will increase the damage he takes. Unfortunately, when we filmed this, the bug was still in where you couldn't click on objects a lot of the time, so our stack did not get as high as it should have, but you should get a pretty good idea of how to do this boss correctly. For this next bridge, you don't want to pull too many mobs at once, even though you're low on time. The builder mobs throw bricks at people that do quite a bit of damage, and they also build up amber on people. When you get too much amber, you will get stunned and encased in it. So although usually your inclination is to pull as quickly as possible, for this particular section, we always found it better to be safe than sorry. Also, the builders will remain completely stationary while you're fighting them. It is possible to move them, but it is difficult, which makes it sort of challenging to try and group up too much of the stuff at once regardless. You can see right there one of the other builders is aggroed through the wall and is throwing bricks at someone from very far away. Right here I got a bit reckless. In hindsight, I don't think that it was worth it, because LOS issues with all of these eggs made it a little difficult to get the damage necessary on this group anyway. This last group of 3, we decided to pull with the boss. In hindsight, what would work best would be to just hard CC them. You don't need to kill any of them for instance completion. And we did eventually sheep one of them, but the other 2 were sitting there throwing bricks at us the whole time during this boss fight, which is extremely inconvenient, as you can imagine. It would be worth your while to spend the second and a half it takes to cast sheeps and fears and whatnot. This boss operates exactly the same as normal mode. He'll fly across the bridge right here, and you need to interrupt him to get him to stop casting Gale Winds. You can see I used Rocket Boots to get over there immediately. Mages are also extremely mobile and able to get over there quickly. And after maybe 30 seconds on this side, he will go back to the other one, and then as far as I know, he will never take off again. At this point, all that's left to do is burn the boss until he's dead, and hope that you were fast enough.
Hope you found this guide helpful, so subscribe, check out our website, and visit me on Twitch. Thanks.